58, 59. Lost count. Eight, 59. Lost count. Eight, 59. Lost count.
Hey, do you like drinking? Do you like vaping? Do you like to cuss? And this show is for you. It's Battle Axe Theater.
Battle Axe Theater. That's a good name.
Battle Axes. Battle Axe, man. He brought the preach.
Battle Axe Theater.
Death from Battle Axe. I don't know if you guys have seen, he just rants, and it's awesome. And he just starts screaming and yelling. I need to have a beer with that guy.
Woo! Okay. What's up, guys? We have audio.
We do?
Say something.
Something.
Hey.
Check. My check.
Looks to be good. I think we're good.
Did we finally fix all the issues?
I think so. What is up, everybody? Happy Monday. I have something to say about Monday, by the way. But
Oh, Monday. Go ahead.
happy Monday, everybody. I'm Punk Shoe. I'm here with my boy Def. Together we
Yep.
are Battle Axe Theater, and we are here with another fine episode of Battle Axe Live. And as per usual, technical issues. And I was just telling Def in between scenes, on the next season, I'm going to be working real hard to keep that from happening. So that's been rectified. Pulled an all-nighter last night, couldn't sleep. I was thinking about it, so I completely redid the bat machine. And whatever was causing the problems before has been rectified. So there should be no more audio clipping and stuff. So there were just a few little nuanced things I missed out on. Anyway, boy,
That's
bro,
awesome.
how are you
What's up?
this fine Monday?
Man, I'm a little grumpy. I mean, I feel like I say that every stream, but I have a headache and it's Monday. Didn't get much sleep myself, but
Yeah.
I'm happy to do this show tonight because we got some cool stuff to talk about.
We do. So you know how last week I was like, I don't ever get a case of the Mondays. I don't get it. I've never heard it.
Yeah.
Like I've never felt it. I got a case of the Mondays, bro.
Today?
Yeah, man.
Really?
Like, today's just been one of those days. It's like I went to bed at like 1:30 and I couldn't sleep and I was laying there, and then I got up at like 6:30 and I was like, fuck it. Oh man, I dropped the F-bomb. I'm also trying not to curse, guys. Help me out with this. We need a jar, bro. We need to have like this little thing on screen that we hit a button when we drop the F-bomb.
Don't say the F-bomb, bro.
Yeah.
That's gonna be hard for me.
It is. I'm gonna have to pretend like we're doing recorded content.
Mm-hmm.
Hi guys, I'm Punkshu with Battle Axe Theater. I'm very articulate and I don't use curse words when recording video.
Here, if you can cue me before you say the F word, I'll beep.
Maybe that's a thing too. Like maybe we could do the whole delay beepy thingy.
Maybe. As long as I don't gotta beep it, I'm good.
There's already too much engineering going on already that I have to do while I try to do this. I don't know if I could handle that. Well, bro, do you want to go ahead and get to it? Jump in, dive in, whatever they call it these days.
We can. Do we want to talk about what we're going to be talking about when we talk about it?
Yeah, that's right. We are going to be talking about personal versus competitive loot and gathering nodes today. And it's going to be a fun little talk because we're going to talk about, those shared loot instances versus those old school style, or we still see it in modern games too, where you have to share loot and nodes and things like that. So it's going to be an interesting discussion, and we look forward to the back and forth and discussion and chat. But we'll save that here for a few minutes. Why don't we talk about what we did last week, bro?
Let's do it.
It's the weekend Rearview. Woo, doggy. Yeah, woo, doggy.
Woo doggy. I think I'm going to say woo doggy every time that little section
Every time the
ends.
clip ends.
Yeah.
So, guys, if you guys are new to the channel, you don't know because you're new to the channel. I don't even know why I prefaced it with that. Anyway, this is gonna be a rough one tonight, dude. I swear to God.
Case of the Monday.
This is so bad. But anyway, this is the segment where we talk about what we did last week because we're a Monday stream. We're not a weekend stream, so we can't talk about what we're doing this weekend or what we got plans. So we're gonna talk about what we did in the past. And as per usual, I'm gonna start off with Def. What have you been up to, bro?
You know what? I know it's kind of a running joke between us, and we're like, well, we did nothing. I feel like this last week, I really didn't do anything. The only things I can think about right now is I caught the tail end of the Overwatch anniversary.
Yeah.
Got almost all the skins I wanted except for one. And so I'm kind of done with Overwatch until either Overwatch 2 or next year's anniversary.
Did you say you're done? Like you beat Overwatch?
No, I just, it's, I don't know. I play it during the anniversary to get all these cool loot boxes, and you can get any skin in the game because it's an anniversary loot box, so you can pick any skin you want.
Okay.
So I just try to level up and get all those, as many loot boxes as I can, basically.
Gotcha.
But I caught the tail end of that. I think it ended Tuesday. I've been working on my beetle mount. So I didn't get it yet. I'm gonna save that for later. That's in Guild Wars 2, by the way. And that's about it. I bought a punching bag today. Yeah, I know. It's kind of a curveball, but I bought a punching bag.
Look back and to your right, bro. I think you're missing something on your wall.
What?
Look up.
Oh, that's something I did this week. All my foam in my office is falling off.
What the fuck? I
yeah,
mean,
yeah.
what the F gosh darn it.
So I already had to what do you call it, the adhesive spray?
Mm-hmm.
I already did those panels. I did two of those the other day. I guess after, I don't know, a year they start falling apart, but I did that. But yeah, I did do that. And I'm telling you, my week was lame. I bought a punching bag. I've been wanting to start working out, and I hate cardio, but I love to punch things. So I figured that would be a fun way, put on some headphones, put on a good heavy metal album, and just punch for like 15 minutes.
Just punch it. No technique or anything. Just get angry at it, huh?
Yeah, dude. I was air punching the other day, like getting excited for the idea. And dude, I air punched for like 20 seconds and I was out of breath. So I believe it's probably a good workout.
Now, did you get a body bag or did you get one of those little things?
No, it's a body bag that you put sand in the base.
Okay.
And you can adjust the height so you can work on kicks and stuff. But, I got it for like $50, man. It was something I found on the local marketplace, and it's pretty cool.
This is next week, Def with a wrist cast.
That is possible. Very possible.
Dude.
I mean, I don't want people to think I'm your typical Kyle, that I'm punching holes in the drywall all the time, but it does feel good to punch, things and stuff. So,
Dude, we need to get you like a fake case of Monster that's just in the background sitting on the floor. So you're like, I'm not Kyle, but...
Yeah, I could have Monster and White Claw or something.
Oh, God.
That'd be great.
White Claw. Here we go. You want a Chanel handbag to go with that?
Oh, man.
Anything else this week, man?
No, man. I want to know what you did, because I have a feeling I know what you did, and I want to know if you did it.
Oh, hold on. Let me dig deep. What did I do? Oh, I spent some time working on a PC project. I still haven't gotten working. If anybody here is as nerdy and computer thingy as I am, I'm having some problems. I can't get a graphics card to work in a like a laptop motherboard. It's basically an ultra slim, and I can't get. It's an MXM graphics card, so it doesn't have like video outputs. It connects to the machine. But anyway, I've tried everything to get it to work. So if anybody has any experience with that, or knows anybody who might have experience with that,
did you try the G52 switch?
oh Lord.
No? Okay.
No, I didn't. The G52 won't fit. This actually uses a C37 module, but the C37 module, it doesn't have all the features that it should because it's in an older board.
That makes perfect sense.
Right? You see?
To me,
See
man.
the struggle
Yep.
that I'm having?
Yeah. Man, I understand now.
Jesus.
What?
That must be what it's like to work with you, dude. Tech-wise, that's pretty much all I did. You guys can probably see the stuff, projects lined up behind me. Trying to get my kid to make some money. He's 15 years old. I'm like, I got some computers here, man. They just need to be cleaned out. Just take them out, blow them out, disassemble them, get them all cleaned up. Let me go over them and make sure all the capacitors are good, and then reassemble it. Nothing. They've been sitting there for like 2 weeks. Ooh. And so I got to make some money. So I think I'm just going to have to do it myself. And yes, Sarah, I turned it off and on about 336 times this weekend. It didn't work. But I spent the majority of the weekend doing something pretty fun in Guild Wars 2. So for those of you who are familiar with Guild Wars 2, you have different mounts. And one of the mounts that Def and I have been after, back when we used to play, they didn't have it, but when we came back, we're out there running around questing, and all of a sudden this zips across the screen, and we're like, what the hell is that? So I see it again and again, and I'm like, dude, these guys have like techno roller balls that they're rolling around on. And then a little bit more research goes to reveals that it's a freaking beetle mount. Like it's a mount that's a beetle that rolls up like a roly-poly and goes real fast.
That's what I call it, a roly-poly mount.
So, yeah, like me and my bouncy bunny. But we were really wanting to get this beetle mount, so we've kind of been progressing toward that. So this weekend I was like, screw it. I'm not going to do the story. I don't really care about the continuity. I'll just go la 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 as best I can, or just have, a little tiny mission spoiled for me. And so we got started on our beetle mounts this weekend, and we thought we might be able to get them that night that we started it, but then we finished the first collection, and Def's like, wait, there's more?
Yeah, man, I was like thinking I was going to have it that night, but they have old school mechanics in Guild Wars 2. Stuff is time locked. I mean, not time locked's a bad word. Sorry, I can't think of words tonight. But you know what I mean? You got to farm things. Things have timers. I was like frustrated, but I was also kind of like, that's freaking awesome. You really have to work for it.
Yeah, it was interesting. So we not only did we get like the newer mechanics where we just go around and pick stuff up off the ground, but then we also got the mechanics where we actually had to participate in zone events. And then we had mechanics where we had to wait for things to spawn, and one of those is like a world boss that spawns every 3 hours. And that was the Golem Mark II, which you got last night.
I stayed up to midnight on a Sunday night to get that, and then I actually got an extra piece thanks to you and Lai, so that was awesome.
Yeah, he finished that up just in time as he was turning it in, about ready to go to bed. The Alpha Beetle spawned out in Silver Waste, which Lai and I had been sitting out there and camping for probably 30 minutes. And I know you're in here now, Lai. I'm sorry for killing it. I did not know that was the thing that we were waiting to spawn. So, my bad. Sorry we had to wait for a second spawn, but I'm glad we did because you were able to get yours. And then you went to bed, and we went back, and we were just I was like, oh, I'm going to go back in case the meta starts. And then you logged off, and no, I issue not. This is going to be hard, dude. I issue not. The meta event started like 5 minutes after you logged off.
And I was up till like 3 o'clock in the morning.
Oh, bro.
Unable to sleep.
Oh, man.
So what happened? Did you get the mount?
It took like 10 minutes. Not only did we get the mount, but we decided that the base cosmetics weren't good enough. And we got some pretty cool cosmetics for the mounts.
Son of a bitch. I hate you guys.
It's cool, man. I'll go show off for you. You can live vicariously through me, or you could just get yours. That works. I think you should just get yours.
Yeah, I'm gonna get mine. Man, is it fun to drive though? Because I noticed on the wiki there's tricks you can do with the mount and all kinds.
There
of stuff.
is. So you've got to get the masteries with it first before you can do like the aerial tricks.
Oh, so much work in an MMO. I may not do it, man.
Liar. Do you know the water mount? Like when you go and you try to turn, it just kind of drifts.
Yeah.
This is like that, but worse. Like if you've ever driven a car that has really tight steering and doesn't want to turn at high speeds, that's basically what this is. You go to turn and the thing goes like this, and you have a button that you can hit to like drift, but it's weird. And it's affected by physics. Like if you start at a high point and you drop down, you actually gain momentum. So like I went out in the Wayfarer's Foothills last night and went all the way up as far as I could till I hit the invisible wall. And then I jumped down, and I didn't even hit the turbo boost. I just rolled, and it got faster and faster and faster and faster. It was pretty sick.
Wow. Yeah, I saw that. You can do tricks and things on it, like according to the wiki. So
I haven't looked into that too much. I just know that one of the masteries allows you to do the tricks.
Oh, okay. That's probably that makes sense.
And there's a wall thing that you can bust through into like secret areas inside the domain of Korma. So that'll be interesting to see that. So if anything, it just gives me more mastery points to start working on, because I was completely locked out for Path of Fire. Like I literally had everything that I could get because I hadn't started on the Griffin yet.
Gotcha. Well, my goal is to have it this weekend. So hopefully next episode I will be talking about
There
my
you go.
roly-poly mount.
So what he's saying, we're going to keep this to a 45-minute stream tonight so that way he can get started on that?
Yeah, I'm probably gonna go to sleep after the stream.
Yeah, I'm kind of with you on that, man. I'm running on a 4-hour nap right now. So we ready to talk about some newsage?
Let's do it.
Sarah Lynn. Oh yeah, we're gonna Kool-Aid man that stuff. All right, man. Let's get into it.
Okay. And now it's time for the Nerd News! Good evening, and thanks for tuning in to this part of the program where we discuss all things technology, comic books, film, art, and more.
There it is. There's the juicy bean footage. So, news.
Let's talk about news.
I mean, there's a lot in the news, but at the same time, it's like you guys probably already know what we're going to talk about. Not just because of the thumbnail, but like there's the one couple big things that are happening in the news that, you know, everybody knows. So we're just kind of letting those do their thing. But the other stuff that's big, everybody else probably knows because we're all gamers here. But
yeah.
whatever, man. This first piece, man, is I'm really excited about this. Now, sound off in chat. How many of you guys have seen Bill and Ted and Bill and Ted 2? Because the trailer for Bill and Ted 3 has been released, and the release date of August 21st, 2020 has come out. And I gotta say, dude, did you get a chance to watch the trailer?
Well, it's been everywhere in my feed, so I've seen enough. So yeah.
You know, it's funny because like I feel like they had to put makeup on them to make them look older. Because they don't look, because you know that whole thing with Keanu being like this immortal vampire.
Yeah, kind of like Paul Rudd.
Yes. Or Daniel Radcliffe.
Yeah.
So he go ahead.
I was going to say, Paul Rudd was in a Super Nintendo commercial. I don't know if anyone knows that, but he was like, Nintendo used him like, you know, that cheesy commercial back in the day where he's all like, and he's like looking at the camera, and like, you look at a modern day movie and he looks exactly the same.
I have to go watch that commercial now.
Yeah, man, look it up. Paul Rudd, SNES, yeah.
Well, anyway, so you've seen that, and I'm sure you guys in chat have seen that kind of floating around. It looks like they kind of make-upped them up a little bit, but the whole premise of the movie is, like, what I get from it, because it's more of a teaser than a trailer, is that Bill and Ted go back to the council. They haven't found their song, and, like, there's, like, this blatant insult that takes place. They're like, you know, 20 years ago, you wrote a song that saved the world. 2 nights ago, you basically played a song at a bingo parlor. It was what it amounted to. I know it's more than that, but you know they did this song where they like united everybody across the world and saved the planet. And here they are in modern times, and they're basically nobodies. So they have this brilliant idea to use the phone booth from the first 2 movies to go, I think it's forward in time, to find their song, and so that they could play it. And it looks cheesy. But I'm excited for it in ways.
Well, I mean, it's a purposeful cheesy, right?
Yeah, I mean the genre, the series is cheesy, and I'm just curious to see how it plays out with them being older. So again, that's going to come out supposedly in theaters on August 21st. Hopefully that's the case. If not, it'll be on hopefully streaming platforms or something, so that way we can enjoy it. And really looking forward to that. And as you guys saw with the thumbnails, you had some stuff you want to talk about, right? with the thing,
Yeah, let
the
me
router.
swallow my beer. Let me pull up my notes here. So the Tesla model PlayStation 5 event.
Tesla model.
I'm sorry, Sony PlayStation 5 reveal was Thursday. I only say Tesla because that looks like something Elon Musk would
It does.
design.
It totally does.
But I mean, I don't get the hate, dude. I don't get the hate. Okay. I like it. First off, and before I get into that, IGN put out they put the meat and taters into a video instead of the official stream, which was 8 hours long, and like who's gonna go to YouTube and watch the countdown for 8 hours? I don't know. But anyway, so that'll be in the description down below. But man, I like it.
I did too. I'm inclined to buy one. I have not owned a console since PS3, and I am inclined to buy a PS5. I think the curves are beautiful. I don't want it in my living room. I think I want it here, and I want to pass through to a monitor, and I want to stream. Pass it through to OBS and stream and play some games on it. Like the Final Fantasy remakes, any new RPGs that might come out.
Yeah.
I think it's pretty. The aesthetic is really, really neat with the curves.
Yeah, and dude, I'm such a sucker. Like, I could be watching an infomercial and they could be like, "These are the best shoes you'll ever wear in your life," and I'll be like, "Damn, I need the best shoes ever in life," and I will be like a sucker and I want to buy it. So anyway, I was watching the stream, and man, I want one. I'm not gonna lie. I've never owned a PlayStation. I've always been an Xbox guy.
Oh man.
Which sat on my shelf for my nightstand, my entertainment center. I was always playing WoW or EverQuest or whatever MMOs that was out. So I was always kind of a PC guy. So I've never played a whole lot of console. But dude, it's got me thinking about it for sure. And I don't know if you saw, but they have the black ones too, which is black and red, a battle axe one. They have a blue and black one.
I'm gonna get the black and white one, and then I'm gonna disassemble it, and I'm gonna change the blue light to a red light, and then put the bat logo on the outside. How's that sound?
There you go. Make a video on that, man. Take that sucker apart and reconstruct it. But no, there's a bunch of games that are going to be coming out on, launch. Astro's Playroom, Demon Souls, Destruction All-Stars, Gran Turismo 7, a new Spider-Man movie, a Spider-Man game, rather. All kinds of stuff. There was this game called, oh man, let me see if I still have it pulled up. It was, oh man, I lost it. It was called Doom something. I'll leave a comment on this video afterwards, because my bad for forgetting. But it was this game that looked like Bioshock, and I know you and I are Bioshock fans, but it was Deathloop, I think, is what it's called. But anyway, it was all like film. It was like the effect we use on a lot of our videos, like old timey film, and you're shooting all these creatures with masks, and
right,
like it looks like you're going through like a Hollywood movie set, killing things in each scene, from what I saw. But it looks really cool. I don't know if it's a PlayStation exclusive, but it was really cool.
Well, and that's my whole thing, man. Like, if we do get PS5s, like, we got to find something to play. That's been my whole thing. Is like, almost everything is multiplayer anymore. But the games that we play, they require a lot of time, and sometimes a year's time investment. And it's one of those things where you kind of you don't end up playing a lot of other games, I guess is what I'm saying. So like all those one player games, like you've got to put anywhere between 40 and 100 hours into a game, Well, it's kind of hard to keep that continuity when you're playing MMOs and you take a break and you go back and you're like, wait, what was I doing again? So hopefully we can find some stuff to play together. I gotta say, I looked at your list of games that you included here, and did you ever play Little Big Planet ever, like at a friend's house or anything?
Mm-mm.
That game is super fun, and I've got it. I've got the PSP version, the PS Vita version, because I've got. I keep them here. They're a little dusty, but I got my hacked Vita here, that's got PSP and Vita games on it, and I had it on PS3 when it first came out, the original one. And dude, I gotta say that game was super fun. And when I saw in here, Sackboy, A Big Adventure, I'm like, wait, is that Little Big Planet? So I go to it, and it's like Little Big Planet turned Mario 64.
Oh,
Because Little Big Planet was like it was like a 3-dimensional like contrast, but it was still a side scroller for the most part. So this is actual 3-dimensional, like where you run through the map, like a lot of like modern platformer games. So I'm pretty excited for this. Price tags. I didn't pay attention to the price tag. Did you happen to catch the price tag on these?
I did not. I watched the presentation. I watched the game demos, and then I just kind of took it upon myself to look up things. Like I'm saying, I'm tempted. Z said in chat, don't forget GTA 5. GTA, that's on the list. GTA 5 Enhance. So I don't think we're gonna get a GTA 6 until like 2024, maybe. I don't know, but I gotta say, I've never played GTA games until 5. I played a little bit of 4. But man, it's a lot of mindless fun with friends when you have a lot of people over, or if you got a lot of people on a weekend in Discord. But
dude, that's why I have the Switch for those types of games. And I don't think you get those types of games that you get through Nintendo on any other platform. It's just not the same. Like you've got Mario Party, you've got Mario Kart. Like.
Well, that's how I view the Switch is a party games, you know what I mean? Like you have people over, let's play some Mario Kart and get drunk, or it's kind of that fun vibe with the Switch. But
and it was also $250 versus the $500 for the Xbox, big Xbox. So I don't know, like I'm hi Minus, what's up, dude? But yeah, the Xbox comes in a conversation too, and I'm sure, the ship kind of sailed on that. We weren't doing Bat Live when the specs were released for the Xbox One X. So Project Scarlet, when it was released and everything, we were kind of on a hiatus, and I'm pretty excited for both of those. I think the Xbox One X is also a very unique looking system in the sense of, like, it's different than we've seen before. It almost looks like something from my neck of the woods. It looks like a vertical, like Corsair or Fantex case.
Refrigerator. Sorry.
That's the joke too. You're gonna buy the mini fridge, or you're gonna buy the router.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I was about to say. There's so many memes, and I guess memes are just they're getting popular and more popular. It's like a snowball effect as time goes on. But like, man, all the PS5 memes and the Xbox memes, it's just hilarious.
Go ahead. Sorry.
The PS5. I'm sorry. I just want to share my favorite one. It's like, I have a Wii. I have a Wii. I have a router. I have a Wii router, and it shows the PS5, and it's like a router smashed with a Nintendo Wii. Anyway.
Oh man, that's funny. I forgot to go look that one up, man. You told me about it the other night. I'm gonna have to take a look at that. I mean, dude, like this whole thing with consoles, like Nintendo has stayed unique. I don't think Nintendo really, like, there's a lot of games that are coming out on it that don't even belong on it, like BioShock and stuff like that. To each their own. For those of you who enjoy those and you want to take them portable, kudos, awesome, great. But my point is that they're like in a league of their own. I think that Xbox and PlayStation and PC within the next 5 to 10 years, it's no longer going to be... I mean, you might still have your exclusives, but I think it's all going to be kind of the same thing. We're all going to be able to go to websites and buy discounted keys for games. Hopefully, there would be some modularity to consoles. Like, that's one thing that's missing, modularity to consoles. Like, to be able to go, like, buy an Xbox One X, and then instead of having a graphics card you buy off the shelf, but maybe there's, you know, maybe XFX and EVGA and MSI can make modules that you can just, you take 2 screws out, you push this little button, the lever pops out, and you just, and the whole graphics card module comes out, and you can then, you know, flip the graphics card module and then put in a better module so you can enjoy your games at 4K or 8K, whatever is popular. You know what I mean? Like, that's the only thing that's really missing from consoles is modularity.
Yeah.
So, I mean, dude, in no time, like, we're all going to be doing the same shit. So it's no longer going to be about PCMR. Like, the Master Race, I don't even feel like it's the Master Race anymore. The difference is I can spend $2,000 on a console and then upgrade it every year until there's no longer an upgrade path 5 years or 10 years later, you know?
Yeah.
That's one thing you don't get in the world of console gaming. But outside of that, I mean, I think it's... I mean, we're all doing the same thing, you know? We're all just playing video games. And at the end of the day, that's all a console is. It's a glorified PC because it's all the same things. Like, I'm seriously convinced that you'd be able to run Windows on it with the right kernel settings. Anyway, I'm kind of trailing off here, guys. Sorry. I'm just, my tech brain is like thinking, like, if you look at the processors, they look like a Ryzen APU because that's what they are. It's a Ryzen processor with graphics processing chips that are meant specifically, they're Vega processing chips that are designed for these consoles. So, like, as a little bit of an AMD fanboy, admittedly, I think it's really neat that they're, you know, the Xbox One and the PS4, they both used AMD. And the next gens are going to be using AMD as well. So, you know, I think it's pretty cool. I'm pretty excited about that.
Yeah, I was raised AMD myself, so.
Speaking of tech and modularity and graphics cards, have you seen the pictures of the GTX 3080?
No, I've been seeing a lot of videos pop up on my YouTube feed that it was, what do you want to call it, leaked?
Yes. And not leaked in the sense of like speculative leak, like actual photos, not renders, actual photos of the cooler.
Okay.
So that's the big thing is like everybody, there's like this huge hubbub about the cooler, right? It's not so much about the specs. There's a lot of speculated specs, but we're not going to talk about that because there's been no hard proof on any of that yet. But there is rumor and mention of a possible 3090, which is like a nomenclature that hasn't been utilized since the 200 series, I believe. So, you know, 10 years ago, 15 years ago, something like that. So that's pretty neat to see that they're going to be bringing back the 90s. And then this cooler design, what's really neat about it, Def, is that so you know how like all our graphics cards, we put them in and the fans are like facing down, or if you get that special kit, you can flip it so it's sideways. But all the fans just basically pull the heat into the board and blow it into your case. Well, the way this looks to be designed is it's chambered, and it looks like the fan is going to pull air from like the bottom of the graphics card, push it through like these pipes and fins, and push it back out the top of the graphics card. So if you know anything about PC builds, guys, like typically your exhaust fans are going to be behind your processor. So on the back of the case, which is above the graphics card. So your graphics card is reliant on pulling cool air from somewhere and then recirculating hot air into your case. Well, with this design, that's something that's supposed to be kind of cool with it, is it's going to pull in the cool air that it would normally use, but instead of just recirculating a bunch of air in your hot air in your case, it's going to pull it out and shoot it back up the top and shoot that hot air right up by your exhaust fan so your exhaust fan can grab it and pull that hot air out of the system. So
that's pretty cool. Is it going to be like $12,000? Probably.
There has been some speculation on price, and this is coming from professionals, but again, it is speculation. Jay's 2 cents. Jay thinks that he's looking at the 2080 probably around $800, which is actually super reasonable if it does come out that, because you're going to have AMD competition that's coming out too. Like there were some leaks about the 3900 XT, which is I'm having brain farts here, guys. I can't remember if this is a processor that I didn't really get to read the articles today because I slept most of the day. But there were some leaks about the 3900 XT, and I don't know if they're talking about the 3900X, which is a processor, and then adding a T to it, because I remember there was talk about that, or if there's like a lower end GPU that's coming out. But either way, I know there are some new AMD processors that are supposed to be coming in, like refreshes, and then there should be some graphics cards to follow, what they're calling Big Navi. So there's going to be a lot of competition in that space. So you've got AMD giving competition to Intel, and now AMD is going to try to give competition to NVIDIA. So we should see overall prices in the market as a whole come down to where stuff's affordable again. So, which is cool because it's absurd to pay $500 or $600 for a mid-tier graphics card. I think that is stupid. I think if you're going to be spending that kind of money, you should be getting something upper echelon. I mean, we're talking. I mean, dude, like you don't even need a super expensive processor to run that kind of horsepower. So like you're spending like twice as much that you spent on your processor on your graphics card, which I think, I mean, it's not necessarily unacceptable, but I don't know. I just felt that buyer's remorse when I did the 2070 over here.
You let me know that for weeks after you.
Yeah.
You made the purchase.
And then the 2070 Super came out, which is like another 15% speed increase, and you can get those for cheaper than what I got when I got, early adopter on this 2070. And I bought the model without RGB. I'm so mad. There's no lights on it. It doesn't look fancy. It just looks boring. But anyway, about the 3080. So we talked about the cooler. No firm specs yet, and there is some speculation, some talk out there. If you go look, there's a few articles that came out today talking about how we could potentially see a release sometime in September. And if we're going to see a release from them in September, we might see a release from AMD in around that same time frame. And all of this really sucks because Computex was canceled this year, so we can't get any firm dates. But I didn't think NVIDIA was going to do Computex anyway. They're probably just going to they got their NVIDIA thing that they're doing. But that's enough for me on my tech BS.
Speaking of September, my little news tidbit here is the Destiny 2 expansion coming out in September 22nd of this year, which I'm kind of bitter about because you and we kind of just bought the expansions, and
yeah.
Well, I say we just, but like I don't know how long ago that was, but we played
Christmas time, but yeah.
Oh, okay. So yeah, it was kind of close. Not really, but. Anyway, so Destiny 2 Beyond the Light, they released a gameplay trailer, and apparently we're going into the darkness now.
Okay.
So
interesting.
I didn't really look too much into it other than watching the trailer. I haven't logged into the game since this, because they announced last week that there is a big announcement.
Mm-hmm.
So I haven't logged in. I don't know if they give you more details inside the game. But according to this trailer, it says you're going to be wielding darkness. So, like, you got your light level, or you're going to have darkness levels. I don't know. The trailer looks cool. I feel like, and you and I played the latest expansion. What was it called? Shadow... something.
Wasn't Shadowlands? That was
that
was
WoW,
Final
right?
Fantasy, I think.
Oh
yeah, no,
fun.
it is WoW.
It is WoW. Anyway, apparently we haven't played Destiny 2 in a while, but
we haven't. We need to. But anyway, go ahead.
But anyway, I felt like when we were playing through that story, it wasn't as rich in the cinematics and the storytelling and all that. It was kind of like voiceovers, which is fine. We play MMOs.
Right.
We're cool with that. But I felt like this trailer was like, they just took a bunch of game footage and just, I don't know, man. I just felt like they could have did a better job
So
trailer,
it's not compelling you to buy it. Is that what you're saying?
the trailer's cool. The way they did the music and did the animation to the music, that was really cool, and it got me kind of pumped to want to try it. But I don't know. I don't know if I'm going to buy it or not. But the cool thing is that if you do decide to buy it, they put out a trailer called "The Future of Destiny 2," and it's past this prologue here, and they show little clips from Destiny 1 being launched all the way until before this expansion. So you see like some of the early on first cinematics, and if you haven't played the game, it would kind of like fill in some story gaps here.
Right.
So it's really kind of cool. But that's about all I got now on all that, because I just don't know how I feel
Well,
about it.
and Yako, thanks. Shadowkeep, is that right?
Shadowkeep.
And Yako says, Shadowkeep, isn't it? Lots of shadows in these MMOs. Yeah, man. It's like that. Dude, and I know we haven't played D2 in a while, so I feel like we did miss out on a little things, but I mean, a lot of what was in the news cycles regarding it, like, it didn't seem like Destiny 2 has had a very good run the last few months. It seems like there's been a lot of...
There's a lot of outrage
Yeah.
going on for sure. Like, people not being happy, but like, man, that's any game, dude. That's WoW, that's Final Fantasy 14, that's any modern MMO that's out. You know, you got your ragers that are like, I don't like this.
Yeah.
You know, like
there's always like like Sarah Lynn said, especially in today's culture, there's always that outrage, man. So it's like, you know, try it for yourself or whatever. But it is what it is. We'll have to get back to it. You know, we'll probably go dabble with it, especially with, you know, some stuff that's coming up here soon. So kind of exciting.
Hey,
Hit the wrong button.
sorry to interrupt, boys, but can we move on to something a little bit more substantial?
nerd news.
Well, that's wonderful.
Wait,
Are you
what's
guys
happening?
ready to get down with a couple bearded idiots who ramble on about random gaming topics? Well, you're
Are
in the
you?
right place.
You
it's
are.
time for the meat and taters.
Oh,
It's time for the meat and taters, apparently.
meat and taters. All right.
Yeah, good stuff. Cool. Meat and taters. We were going to talk about something that was really neat. What were we going to talk? Oh yeah, we're going to talk about personal loot. And something else. Oh, personal loot and competitive loot.
And gathering nodes.
Yes. So we're not just talking about loot. We're going to talk about things as a whole. So we're, you know, like sharing things.
Your consumption of things, I guess.
So yeah, I mean, so you guys might be like, well, what exactly do you mean? Because I mean, the loot's one thing. The nodes are, how do they tie together? Well, I think it's not just those. Like, we want to talk about like personal loot. We want to talk about loot that's dropped and divvied up. You know, competitive loot. Like, I want to talk a little bit about the old school way of ninja looting and like old MMOs. Like, you know what I'm talking about with EQ, right?
Yep.
So I want to talk a little bit about that, and we want to talk about shared nodes. You know, like when you go to mine something, is it about like, you know, I see an orc out of the corner of my eye, and I'm a dwarf? Do I hurry up and be like, orc, and then take it and run off and be like, I got it for you, dude? You know, we want to talk a little bit about instanced bosses. So like when you do these epic quests, instead of having to go like you used to do and camp and fight for spawns, and you know, maybe you got there first, but the dude who just showed up 15 minutes ago took your freaking spawn, and you know, it sucks, but there's that competitive nature of things. Now he's going to get his epic weapon before you do. And want to talk a little bit about, you know, just quest finishers in general. Like, you know, when you're doing those types of quests, even if it's not a boss, there's like no competitive nature in modern games. So I just want to talk a little bit about that. Well, we wanted to talk a little bit about that. Before we start diving into what we've got planned out, do you have anything you want to say before we get started, Def?
No, I'm gonna try. Maybe I want to point out that when we discuss topics on Bat Live, we're trying not to be biased. We're trying to encourage discussion like opinion pieces and stuff like that. So that being said, I'm going to try not to be biased and just kind of dissect the topic here.
Thanks, man. I appreciate that. I appreciate you being unbiased and not. Back in my day, I had to walk up both sides of the hill before I could even get to the top in 30 feet of snow with no socks on.
Look, man, I did. I did do that. So you got to work for your loot. Anyway.
Yeah. So let's talk a little bit about the evolution of this. So like you started in EverQuest, and we're going to be talking specifically MMOs for this, because I mean, I think that's where even online games that aren't MMOs take from the MMO genre. But so like I want to talk things that run kind of the gamut. Like let's look at EverQuest and Final Fantasy. So Final Fantasy 11. So when you were playing EverQuest, and this is specific, they're very interesting to me because there was a very weird system in Final Fantasy 11, a very weird gathering system. So tell me a little bit about your gathering stuff from EverQuest. Like, were nodes a thing? I can't recall.
They were, I believe, dropped. I never really did trade skilling in EverQuest, to be honest with you. But I believe they were dropped. But there were certain skills like foraging, where if you were whatever race you were, you could forage and get rare materials like cinnamon sticks and honeydew, and I'm trying to think of some other like key items I remember back in the day. But the unique thing about that was you could go into higher level zones where you couldn't forge these materials unless you were in that zone. But I don't, man, you kind of threw me back there, man. I don't remember there being.
I did the same thing to myself when I was thinking about this prior to the stream. I was like, hold up, there were no nodes per se in Final Fantasy 11. Like you didn't go out and like hit a mining node. I mean, you did, but not like we think about it in modern times, you know?
Yeah. So now I'm getting now it's coming back to me. I remember for tailoring, I was in Luckland farming rockhoppers on the moon for their hides. So I was getting their hides for tailoring and leatherworking and stuff like that.
Okay.
So I think most of trade skill items dropped off the mobs, and I know several of you in chat can fact check me on that, but I don't really remember.
Chat's saying that it was dropped and vendor bought.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, that I do remember, because like I was saying, I remember being on the moon farming rockhoppers. I remember this special gear I wanted for my monk was called Black Panther gear, and it was just so cool because it was before they had dyes. So I remember that I think you had to go Jagged Pine Forest, specific zones to get this leather off cats. So
okay,
yeah. So yeah.
Well, in Final Fantasy, we had a little bit of a different system. So instead of like running around and random copper nodes and iron nodes, like Get Crow Gaming is saying, you had to buy hatchets and sickles. Now to farm wood, you used your hatchets, and there were zones that had trees that popped up, but there were like. It wasn't just like, oh, this is a level appropriate zone, here's a bunch of nodes. Like there were specific places that you went to do gathering, and it was not shared. Like you would go, and the weird thing is like if you hit the spot, you didn't have to wait. It would like instantly respawn somewhere else. So what you'll see in Nozomi is like you'll get mining groups that get together and they go to an area and they'll all stand around these mining nodes and hit the nodes, and they'll just keep bouncing around, and people just keep hitting those nodes and mining like crazy. There might be a short like 1 minute window, but all I know is like when you were solo mining back in the day and you were running around, that was one of my routines that I used to do, is run around. And the thing is if you're in an area by yourself, you kind of get an idea of the flow while you're trying to do it for an hour. But God forbid some other asshole comes in there and decides that they want to start doing the same thing, right?
Yeah.
Because they start messing it up. Because let's say there's a circle and you're on the right hand side of the circle and you're going clockwise and you get to the left hand side of the circle. Well, you're working your way back over to that node that respawned on the right hand side of the circle. But Larry comes in and he's all like, some gold, I want it. And he takes the gold and you're not all the way around the circle. And then you finally get back to your first original starting point and you're like, where's my node?
Yeah. Yeah.
So there is that. So I think something that we can all relate to, though, where we started really seeing from a gathering perspective is World of Warcraft. Like, you didn't play Classic, but they also didn't have those features. When you started in BC, they didn't have the shared feature where, everybody had access to a node. That didn't come through until Cataclysm, I believe, right?
Cataclysm, yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So
before you, I was just gonna say, WoW's crafting system was awesome. EverQuest, as much as I don't have anything bad to say about EverQuest, but if I did, it was the crafting. I mean, it was just so tedious. I mean, it took them like 13 years to make it to what it is today. So, and I'm talking little things like put multiple items in a crafting container, But yeah, WoW's crafting system was really cool. I mean, it gave you something to do if you're max level. You wanted to get max level and not worry about your crafting. You could just get a mining pick and you could just get on your little flying mount or riding mount, whatever. Go around the zones and you could look up what node spawn in what zone. Right. And I like that. It was kind of streamlined. It was. Back in the day, it wasn't easy, but it was streamlined. You know what I mean? You knew where to go.
And I think like what they did was like the introduction. Their crafting was kind of like the introduction of like less of a farming mobs and more of a I'm choosing not to be non-combative, and I'm farming commodities. And you can farm commodities before, but like you were killing mobs and like you weren't farming gold. You were trying to get the gold drops, but you were getting all the other crap that these mobs drop too. Their wings, their arms. Like, why do you have a dagger, Bumblebee? But that sort of thing.
Yeah.
Whereas when you're mining or you're herbing or you're fishing, you're specifically targeting a specific commodity that you're out there trying to get. Now, back in the day, you're out running around, you're trying to get copper, and we saw this when WoW Classic first launched, and you and I were trying to get some materials to do crafting, and there were no copper nodes anywhere.
Nope.
Like, what are your thoughts on that? Like, do you prefer one way or the other? Do you prefer that you can hit all the nodes just because they're there? Or?
And just to clarify, you're talking about if I see a node and Larry sees a node, we can both go mine that node. Yes.
So do you like that, or do you like the idea of you see a node, Larry sees a node, you see Larry, Larry sees you, you both acknowledge, you both get on your mounts and race your asses toward that node, and then whoever gets it is like, like which?
Can I go with this answer? If I get the node first, I'm cool with.
I guess I thought you weren't going to be biased here.
Honestly, I like the old school way because I don't know how to explain it. Like, it's, I guess it's kind of like, like what we were saying. I walked up the snow both ways and blah, blah, blah. I kind of feel like if I get that node, it's mine. Sorry, dude, you're going to have to trick along. But at the same time, if I only have 3 hours to play and I want to gather some nodes, I'm like, why did he beat me to this node? This game sucks, Like, I'm always going to be unbiased. I'm always going to have, like, some kind of complaint because I'm a grumpy dude. But...
See, I think I'm right there with you. Like you said, when you have a time restriction, having to fight for a gathering node when you just need to get some materials so you can knock out whatever crafting you're trying to do for the night. Like, I think like that is where the underlying issue is. Like, if you have all of a Saturday and you just need to get some stuff and you're listening to, you know, your music station, you're just chilling, sitting around in your underwear, like, it's no big deal, right? But it's like, go ahead.
It'd be kind of cool if the nodes spawn in random spots per, like, in your character's point of view, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, like, these nodes are scattered about. You got to go find them and loot them, you know, and that Larry can't see those nodes. He's got his own set of spread out nodes, you know. So, to the point of view of the player, they're like, oh, I'm finding these nodes, I'm collecting them myself. I mean, it kind of takes away from that immersion, but if the game devs never say anything, you know, you think, you know, hey.
See, I like that spirit of competitiveness. Like, I like the fact that, like I said, like, I'm killing a kobold and I see Larry roll up from around the hill and I'm like, I think I know what Larry's here to do. And I look over and I see a rich copper vein and I'm like, Larry, rich copper. Larry, rich copper. Mining pick, Larry, rich copper. You know, it's like, who's going to get it? Like, and then, like, I don't know, maybe it's the troll in me that kind of likes the rage that comes from it. And there's part of this that we received a text earlier today that I think is going to fit into this discussion very well. We'll talk about here later. But I think that would make this whole instance very interesting. But Nathan Napalm, shout out Nathan. He's a content creator. Awesome dude.
Nathan!
You guys should go check him out. But yeah, he says, have you ever... and what do you think about, have you guys discussed instance nodes? So that's like, you know, maybe the nodes themselves aren't shared, but the instance itself is only you and your party, and which I believe was something that we had in EQ2 when we were playing and doing dungeons, right? Like, weren't there nodes that were exclusive to that, and then those instances didn't house as many players or something like that?
I think so. I mean...
Okay. I mean, we didn't play that extensively, but...
That's what I was just about to say. My mind is kind of foggy on that.
But I think there were nodes inside those dungeons we were doing.
I believe there were, because I think I recall Minus and Haya, and I think we're all taking turns.
Yeah, we were. That's what we were doing. We were taking turns. Now I remember. Yeah, good call. Yeah. So, I mean, as far as that's concerned, I think that's kind of what, you know, it is what it is. Because I mean, on one hand, if it's instance in the sense that you can go in and there's just a lesser amount of people there, because when we were doing those dungeons, you could there were multiple groups that could run those dungeons, so you're still being competitive in a way.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
It was still pretty much open world.
See, like, my biggest thing is, like, again, it comes back, like, if you're restricted on time, it really sucks. But if you're not restricted on time, like, it's kind of fun to be kind of goofy and see who can get it first. It adds like a little mini game to it. It makes it more exciting, you know.
Yeah, as I get older, it's kind of like a love-hate thing. Like, I want open world. I want everything that is there on the planet to be the reality of me. So I don't want instance, you know, dungeons. I don't want instance hub cities. I want to know everybody that's on the game is right there on the game.
Yeah, same.
But
Me
too. The reality is that there's a lot of people playing MMOs now. There wasn't back in the day. So it's kind of like, you know, how do they handle this? You know, if you got one mega server and, you know, X amount of people, you know, on the same server, it's like, how do you contribute those nodes to make everybody not want to rage quit, you know?
And I think that's like where some of these changes have kind of stemmed from. So Yako brings up a very valid point. It's always fun fighting off the gold farmers for mats. And by fun, I mean frustrating. And that's like we didn't really see gold sellers in our old school MMOs all the way up until like MMOs really became a prevalent thing. Like, I think I was playing Final Fantasy XI for 6 years before I finally started seeing real money traders. And you didn't really see a major impact. Like, you heard stories of it, but then you started playing WoW and it was like regular occurrence. You're like, seeing it all over the place. Like, you know, so yeah, I can get that. But back to the instance nodes, I just remembered something. Garrisons. Do you remember garrison mining? I think that not only did it ruin the experience and the fun because it became this obligatory, I got to go hit X amount of nodes in my personal mine every day, but it also ruined the economy.
Yeah, it was. It made an MMO into a solo game. So my dad loved Warlords because of the garrison. Because he's a hardcore crafter and he doesn't group with other people.
Well, he also plays a lot of
RTSs?
Yes, thank you. He plays a lot of RTSs, so that kind of fits in that dynamic, right?
Yeah, man, dude, he could have his WoW app on the road during his job and just, you know, collect all his things and whatnot, you know.
Yeah.
So that was right up his alley. But dude, it was like you weren't in the hub city anymore in that expansion. You went to your garrison, did all your daily routines and whatnot, and that was it.
Yeah.
So that kind of,
and that's what I'm saying. Like, I think there's like this balancing act. So before we get too far into like breaking down the evolution of these and talking, you know, going from old school to you know, WoW to what's modern, what about the loot? Because, like, I mentioned something about ninja looting. So can you tell me experiences with ninja looting? Like, how did that work in EverQuest? Because I had friends who played EQ. I didn't have dedicated graphics when EQ first came out, and that's why I had to wait till Final Fantasy came out in PS2.
I'll tell you about looting in EverQuest. Ninja looting. So if you and your group was to kill a mob, it would there would be a timer on the loot. Now, guys, I want to apologize to chat because I can't remember last week, but I do recall there would be a loot lockout. So you kill the mob, you con the corpse, you get a loot timer on that corpse. If you don't loot that corpse within X amount of minutes, someone else is free game.
Okay.
What would suck is there was a lot of close encounters. There was a lot of purple clubbing in EverQuest. A lot of, you know, just you kill the mob, but everybody's down, and so on and so forth. And then whoever wanted that item on that mob, it's not like your cleric could loot that mob and give it to Joe Blow, the warrior. So it wasn't like that. So it really sucked when people were waiting on your camp and they see that mob is down, and then you're waiting on corpse runs or people to get back to the zone, or your cleric hasn't rezzed the mob, blah blah blah, and someone would just ninja that. It would, man.
I remember I went over to my buddy's house to play D&D, and his older brother, which was also our friend, he was behind, and we're like, what's going on, man? And he's all pissed and he's like raging, and we're like, what's up, man? He's like, dude, I needed this item for my fucking epic, and I died after I killed the mob to like a dot or something, and then he had to run back, but he didn't have a way to get there that was close. Like his spawn point was like, he forgot to change it, and he had to run all the way back. And when he got there, as he's running over the hill to loot it, he watches a guy go take it and just leave.
Bro, I know that feel. Oh man.
See, I don't know that feeling and I think Nathan can attest to this since we're both Final Fantasy XI players. Like when you killed things, you got loot. If you were in a group and it was not regular loot, you know, you had like a lot system that you did. So there was no need to really loot. You didn't loot mobs, so that was never an issue. And maybe it was an issue. I can't remember. If you died, maybe you weren't there to be able to get it, but you could still loot. You could roll the lot while you were down and wait for the loot and then respawn. So man, I didn't have any experience with that, and that sounds extremely frustrating.
Yeah, and back in the day, especially for epic weapon quest, you know, you're helping your buddy get these items, and so you loot and then your buddy's trying to get the item, and then he doesn't get it, and then you're like, oh my god, well, man, I just gave you 4 hours of my time. I guess I can give you 4 more. You know, it's just kind of one of those things where we go back, like we do often, is community, and
Right.
it's like you're rooting for your boy to get his epic, and he doesn't, and it's like, and then some Larry comes along and ninja loots. It sucks, man.
You know, the nice thing though is like in the EverQuest community though, there was the self-policing, right? Like, because when that would happen, that person would be up on the forums. This dude's a douchebag. There'd be screenshots. There would be screenshots of the conversation that happened where you tried to like call that dude out, and he was just like, and then he just gets ostracized or whatever. So like that was nice, but you can't do that now in MMOs where servers house tens of thousands of players at a time. Like it's just not a thing. Like nobody cares. They're like, well, maybe you should have looted it. And that's kind of where I think the evolution discussion comes into play. So go ahead.
Well, my last thing I want to bring up about that is because Turin said something. It happened to me a few times. It sucked, but I wouldn't change a thing. I feel the same way because I feel like the best way I can describe EverQuest once I was able to get to high-end game, and it just becomes politics on your server. That's what it is. So like that dude that ninja your corpse, like you said, he's going to be on the forums, blah blah blah. It's going to be known that he's a douche, and your friends are going to back you up, and they're going to help you get that item you wanted. So it was just that kind of atmosphere,
That's accurate AF, Nathan. Nathan says the flaws of EQ are features of EQ, and that's the thing about old MMOs is like it was new, it was groundbreaking. The experiences that you had, albeit somewhat miserable occasionally, it defined who you would become as an MMO player, and the experiences that you would have going forward in other MMOs, and the respect that you had for certain things, which most people who just dive into modern MMO don't have that. There's no trials, there's no tribulations. It's jump on, inventory management's not a thing. We give you literally, if you go do silver waste for a few hours, you get over 1,000 loot bags, like that sort of thing. Like back in our day, man.
Mm-hmm.
But like back in our day, you're like, that sort of thing could happen where you could purple club and then just some random dog could come by and finish you off after you just killed a boss. And then you got to run back and then the corpses despawn and you're like, well, that sucks. I've been here all day and I just lost that.
Yep. Yeah. And I know we want to stay on topic here, but that kind of brings me back to something like when I when I play P99 and I die, I get so fucking mad, dude. I know, try not to say F-bombs here, but I'd get so frustrated, so angry. But back in the day, it was just part of the game. Dying all the time was part of it. It was just.
It was like when you were playing console. Like you didn't just quit. Like you got pissed. You threw your controller, you walked away, and then an hour later you're like, all right, I got this. And it's the same thing with dying back, then. It was like, God, I got to walk all the way back there. I lost this. The dude took my kill. The mob was at 10%. It was literally a hair away from dying. And then you come back and you're like, well, I got to do it.
And speaking of loot, when EverQuest first came out, you had to go back and loot your corpse. So, I've told the story before. I lost my corpse on my first character because an oracle falls out from the tree, kills me, and it's 5 o'clock in the morning, and I'm going to look for my corpse here, and I couldn't find him. No match.
Corpse was in a tree, right?
No, he fell out of the tree, killed me somewhere in the woods, and this was you played P99 with me, between. It was in Kelleton, somewhere in that zone between the city and Crushbone, and I had a full set of rawhide gear, which is, AC1, AC2. I thought I was hot shit, man. I thought I was awesome, and I lost everything. I'll never forget it.
But you learned. And this is one of the things, like, I think is also a big thing. We see this a lot when, I don't know if Lai's still in chat, but we'll be running through an area and she'll be like, hold on. I'll be like, hold on what? She'll be like, I got dismounted. And I'll be like, okay. And then you'll look behind you and she'll be fighting it. Like, that's one of those things in the old school MMOs, man. Like, if you got attacked by something and you knew you couldn't defeat it, you just ran and hoped and prayed to God that you could get away. But while you were running, you're paying attention to your surroundings because you're like, I need to get my corpse.
Yeah.
Like, you didn't have that issue in Final Fantasy. But, playing EverQuest with you, I'm very familiar with that process. So it's like you're paying attention to it, you know?
Yep.
So I think it's that, it kind of molds you. It shapes you. So let's talk a little bit about, because we're going to talk about the evolution of how things changed and maybe why they've changed. But last thing I want to touch on is like your quest finishers, your boss finishers, like, a guild boss, if you will. Like the best example I can give is like playing Sky in Final Fantasy XI. You would have your entire guild up there and you would be fighting real money traders. You would be fighting. Sorry, I just looked up and I saw, it looks like the stream was lagging a little bit. But anyway, you would have real money traders that you were fighting. You would have other link shells or guild equivalents that you were fighting for spawns. And then you would get all these spawns and then you could force spawn the last boss, which was like the big bad. And I know in EverQuest, you had similar mechanics, and sometimes they were just outright bosses, like the one that was in the screenshot or the thumbnail. Like the boss is just there, right?
Quarm? No, you had to kill every boss in the plane of time. Yeah.
But was it instanced?
No, you had to go in as a. Oh man, I'm gonna need Chad again to back me up, because Planes of Power, the only rating experience I had was Plane of Tactics, Plane of Fire.
Mm-hmm.
And I got pushed. If you had X amount of people in the raid, you could push like 2 or 3 members. One of those, it was just looting an item and they kicked me out.
Gotcha.
But I actually believed Plane of Time was tier locked. So I think you had to kill X amount of mobs, X amount of bosses, to open up a wing. But Quorum, yeah, man, that was the final boss of Plane of Time, and that was.
Yeah, I literally have zero experience with like end game bosses and things like that. So maybe one of the better examples is I think a lot of us tried out Classic when it came out, and one of the big things that people were having an issue with in Classic was quest finishers. So you had these quest lines that would then finish with like a boss fight, and these bosses, the last thing that you had to fight was like on a 15-minute respawn timer. And some servers were being super cool and making a line, and everyone was taking turns. And we were talking about this with Standing in Fire. I was like, nah, man, I got 2 hours to play. I see a line, I'm gonna go, I can tag faster than you can,
Yeah.
Like, what are your thoughts on that? Because that really doesn't exist anymore.
I gotta say, when we were playing Classic and there were people waiting in line to do things, that was kind of cool, man.
Yeah.
That was kind of cool. That was respectful and all that. But at the same time, if I'm on a Necro and I can or Warlock, sorry, if I can dot up,
Mm-hmm.
it's kind of one of those things where I want to do it,
Yeah.
Is that answering your question?
Yeah, I'm just kind of curious. So, like, so that's what I'm thinking. Like, when we're talking like these boss finishers or quest finishers, whether they be instanced or they be a thing where you spawn it and it's already claimed by you and nobody else can attack it, which is a common thing in a lot of games now, or shared credit is a big thing now too. Like, that didn't exist. And I don't know if it was the same thing for you guys back in EverQuest, but I know sometimes in Final Fantasy you could actually lose the tag if your threat generation wasn't high enough. Did you guys have the same issue in EverQuest?
I think on EverQuest it was based on the percentage of damage you did
Yeah.
to the mob. Yeah.
Yeah, and then that was very much what we saw in Final Fantasy, where like you would grab the mob, you would be holding it, and then all of a sudden the name would go from colored to gray. You could still attack it, but you no longer had the claim. And that was kind of weird. They're like, I sat here, I worked for hours, I got the claim, and these D-bags just took it from us. Like, we experienced that back when we used to do Sky all the time versus those RMTs and stuff. Like, it was just... Like, you don't see that anymore, like, in games. And I don't know, like we talked about this a while ago in the past, and again with Standing of Fire, like, I kind of like that competitive nature, but like Yako said, you know, I miss the challenge of older MMOs, but as I get older, I feel like they're a little bit archaic. Like, there's no need for that, especially when you're trying to accommodate more people, higher DPS numbers, rarer loot, you know, trying to accommodate this mentality of, like, updating content every 6 months or whatever and making other stuff obsolete. Like, there's no reason to have mechanics like that anymore. So, but I miss it, man. I miss sitting in Valkyrie dunes and killing flies and waiting for the Valkyrie Emperor to spawn, to have a minute chance that the Emperor's hairpin would drop so that I could turn around and either use it on my character or sell it for 340k so I could buy my Brigadine armor for my other job, you know?
Okay. So, yeah, see, I can relate to that playing EQ1.
Mm-hmm.
You know, farming just rare spawns and waiting for hours and hours. There was chat help me out. The North Karanas, I think it was. I think you needed it for the Druid Epic. It was a Griffin, I think. I can't remember the name, but it's things like that, man. Just I think it was South Karana. But man, I feel you there. You know, like, it's kind of like an inconvenience these days when you got limited time to play, but it is so fulfilling when you achieve that. When that whatever mob spawns and you kill it and you get the item, you're like, oh my god, I love this freaking game. Everybody else sucks.
Well, it's like,
not me.
Dude, like, nobody has to skydive unless you're in the military. Like, people skydive for that adrenaline rush.
Yeah,
and like, you didn't have to go farm this rare item, but we did it because we didn't want to spend the money on it, or we could use the money to buy an item that was even rarer or more difficult to get, or we could just go work our butts off and actually get the money for it. Sure. Stormfeather, does that sound right? Quillmane.
I remember that name, but Quillmane is the one I was thinking about. I think Quillmane dropped some levitation clickies, so levitation was a big deal in EverQuest, so you would have a clicky to levitate, and I've always wanted that on my monk.
But see, like, dude, like, that was the thing that I loved, is that adrenaline rush that you got. Like, you're just running around the dunes, and it's not even that. Like, sometimes you're just running through and you happen to be that lucky guy that you're like, oh, I'm going to kill this item or this placeholder while I'm running through to spawn. I'm 20 levels above this, but I'm going to kill it anyway. And you kill it, and then you're running back through from after, you know, running out and doing the thing that you need, your errand that you're doing, and your rare spawn is there. Yeah. And then you kill it. There's like that adrenaline rush. You're like, I got to get DPS in before somebody else comes in and tags it. Or you've been there for 16 hours. Your head's drooping. You're like, ugh, I'm ready to go to bed. This is stupid. And then you're there, and Jimmy's over here in a party with Larry that's over there, and you see them closing in, and you're like, oh, I got this. And you shoot it with your bow, and you get the claim, and you're like, ah!
Well, see, I don't know if I like the competitiveness. The thing about it is, in EverQuest, like, you'd be farming a camp, the name mob spawns, you kill it, it does or it does not drop the item you want. By that time, your group is all like, all right, I gotta go to bed. I'm gonna get 2 hours of sleep before I have to go to work in the morning. Good night, guys. Blah blah blah. And then, so you just killed that named. The placeholder could spawn again. The name could spawn again, or it could spawn the next time, or you know, it's just kind of that casino gamble adrenaline
Keeps you
that
hooked.
it keeps you hooked, man. And you're like, it's gonna spawn. I feel it, And then one of my favorite kind of adrenaline you were talking about is you're up for 2 hours. You've been farming this name mob, and your eyes are drooping down, and you done everything you could to stay awake, and then it pops in, and you're like, you're wide awake. You kill it, and then you're freaking awake for another 3 hours. You know what I mean? And
Yep.
you
go and you start doing more of it because you're just so pumped. You're riding that high. You're like, I finally got it. And you're just feeling pumped. Yeah, man. See, like, I feel like you don't get that gratification from modern games. So let's talk about the evolution really quick. So we've got the old school MMOs that had these mechanics that we're talking about. And then we saw WoW kind of add the mechanics of the gathering nodes so that there were more of them, right? And then, they had the bosses and things like that. But then you started to see the evolution of World of Warcraft to start adding shared nodes to where anybody could get a hit in on the end of a quest chain, things like that. So you see that? Are you good?
I drink quite a bit of beers.
You go do what you got to do. I'll entertain for a moment.
Thank you. Sorry, chat.
Oh, that boy needs a bigger bladder. But yeah, I think that talking on that, like, we see that evolution, and a lot of this always, and I'm curious what you guys think, chat, and I'm going to read chat here in a second. I just want to finish my thought, is like, it seems like a lot hinges on the evolution of an MMO, or the MMO genre, hinges on World of Warcraft and what they brought to the table, because they made the game so much more accessible. We started to see an influx of players. So kind of curious there. So I'm going to check over chat here. Get Crow says dual boxing and Nosomi is a decent way to experience Final Fantasy from back then, but you don't have this, like, the time sinks, and I'll agree with that. I don't like dual boxing though, because I think it takes away from the authenticity of it, because that was one of the reasons why I started playing Nosomi, was so that way when I played I could feel like I was in 2005 again, or 2002, whenever started playing, and I wanted to feel like I was playing and I was grinding with people. But I will tell you that dual boxing, it makes it a lot easier and a lot more enjoyable, because you have that, you can support yourself and things like that. And it's also a lot easier to do now than it was back then, especially if you were on console. Draxion is talking about the Q cloak. I don't know what that is, but we did have to farm a particular cloak and Rompier Tombs in Final Fantasy. It was a high agility cloak. It gave you like 2 agi, and it was only like a level 15, but you'd have max level characters out there farming it, and you'd have to fight, and it only spawned at night. You'd have to kill the placeholders. And if Lai, you're still here, feel free to chime in on this. We'd have to wait until this ghost type thing spawned, and then we'd kill it. And once we killed it, and this was the thing with old school MMOs, like, there was no guaranteed drop. And like in modern times, it's like you have some sort of guaranteed system. So like, we didn't have guaranteed drops back then. So you'd take the time, you'd kill a mob, and you'd wait 4 hours for it, and then you'd kill it, and it wouldn't actually drop anything that you were looking for, and it was kind of dejecting. But if you did get that drop, it just got you pumped and ready to go.
Hell yeah, it did.
So, dude, what I was saying was, like, a lot of what we see in MMOs now and the evolution of MMOs hinges on World of Warcraft. And I want to pick your brain on this. Why do you think it became a necessity to add shared nodes? Why do you think it became a necessity to add tagging to, like, multi-tagging to bosses? Why do you think, like, the end of quest chains became spawnable mobs or instance mobs? Why did dungeons become instance, so on and so forth? Like, what are your thoughts on the evolution of that?
My opinion is when EverQuest came out, this new thing was an ever-growing thing. It became popular. It became a real difficult thing to manage because, in EverQuest there was self-policing.
Right.
So, I know a lot of devs, even raid leaders, got picked to go work at Blizzard.
Yeah.
So I think it was some of these raid leaders' concepts and ideas, and it was people that went from Sony or whatever company it was back then that went to Blizzard and was like, hey, like, this is a difficult thing to manage. People were like, dude, people were like killing each other and like committing suicide and losing their wives and losing their husbands. I mean, it was kind of like it was kind of a serious deal, man. So I think WoW found a good way to kind of manage that, to kind of be like, hey, you know, if you get to this point, you kill this instance boss, you know, you're gonna get a little something. You know, you don't have to, you know, spend 12 to 64 hours on a spawn timer to get this specific mob.
Right. I think that very much fits within what Nathan was saying about a large quantity of the player base. When we grew up, we got jobs, we had families, so on and so forth.
Yeah.
But I don't think we want to discount the new players either. And I think what has come from it is like we had this conversation many times working at Best Buy, and like, you know, you'd see people picking up MMOs and you're like, you play WoW? And they're like, yeah, man. I'm like,
let me get your number.
But you're like that guy that dresses all fancy and goes to the clubs and stuff on weekends. You're in management. You're clean cut. You don't seem like an MMO player, and it just made it more accessible. And when you have accessibility and you have a casualness to a game, you start to see an influx of player base. And what happens when you have a zone that used to have 300 people in it now have 1,000 people in it fighting over the same nodes, fighting over the same bosses, fighting over the same quest drops? You got to do something, right?
Yeah, and that's kind of my thoughts on it. I just think they found a way to kind of keep the chaos down a little bit, you know, like that's just my personal perspective and guess, you know.
Is the competitive nature that's lost just a sacrifice, or was that the intent? Like, was that just something like was a byproduct? So you had the competitive nature of, you know, guild versus guild trying to get boss spawns. You had that competitive nature of players fighting over, you know, some node spawns and things like that. Mm-hmm. Did we lose that competitiveness as a byproduct? Like, it's just something, unfortunately, we had to sacrifice that to accommodate the greater good? Or was that intentional to get rid of that, do you think?
That's true.
What do you guys think in chat? Do you think that WoW got rid of the competitive nature to appease the masses? Or do you think it just happened and it was unfortunately a sacrifice to accommodate this influx of player base? Kind of curious what chat has to say about it.
Yeah, me too. But I think it's kind of intentional. I think they found a system that would work because, like, and I feel like I say this a million times because I do say this a million times. But one of the main appeals to switching to WoW is you get stuff done within X amount of minutes, right, versus spending an hour finding a group, spending an hour in the group, and then whatever mob you're spawning, whatever you're trying to do. You know, WoW kind of eliminated that. You know, they kind of found a way to make it fun and exciting. It's just, and I'm talking early WoW, by the way. I'm not talking like modern day WoW. You know, that's just gimme, instant. You know, it used to not be that way.
Yeah.
So, man, I don't know. I don't know if what people complained about, they didn't realize that it's not what they think they wanted it, but they did not. You know, kind of like the WoW Classic meme going around that dude said. But I feel that way about this situation. You know, like the competitiveness, the spawn cycles and stuff. Like, I'm not gonna lie, dude. We're playing Guild Wars 2. Turin's already shed some light on the sky scale. We're in the middle of getting our beetle mounts. I don't have time to get my beetle mount in one night, but I kind of like the fact that I'm going to have to get on, watch a spawn timer, be there for that event, farm these mobs, do this thing, you know.
It's like a best of both worlds kind of thing.
Yeah, when I get that mount, dude, I'm going to be like, hey, I got this.
Yeah.
And when some newbie's like, hey, man, how'd you get that mount? I'd be like, bro, it was an epic quest.
Yeah, and I think it's kind of like in the scope of things, like in the scope of what Guild Wars 2 is on a day-to-day basis for the casual player. Those who have beetle mounts and those who have sky scales not only have this trophy piece, but they have something to show, you know, the work that they did actually has some functionality to it, and it makes those people like us, it kind of gives you that old school feeling, right? Like you're like, dude, where'd you get that armor? And now you want to work to get that armor because it looks cool.
Yeah.
And that's why one of the reasons we got the beetle mount. So and now we're part of the club.
The Warcraft too, man.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Like I didn't know how you got that, and then we looked it up, and then we all got it together, and that was kind of cool.
Yeah, and you hardly ever see anybody with the Warclaw outside of World v. World. So
yeah,
it's kind of, you know, we have this like exclusivity thing going on. Like we can go run around on Warclaws, and a level 10 who's just getting into the game is going to be like, I've seen raptors, I've seen the occasional beetle, I've seen bunnies. You see quite a bit of sky scales, but I've never seen a Warclaw before. What is that? And I remember that sensation. Like, that's neat. When did they add that?
Yeah.
So yeah, I think it is really, what we see now in modern games is like a blend of it. And I think chat seems to be under the general consensus is that it was not an intentional removal of a feature per se. I mean, it was intentional in some ways, but they were just doing what the player base was asking for. So if the player base was like, look, this is no longer an important thing to us, we'd rather be able to get things and move on with our lives, I think they accommodated those changes. I also think, again, it was just a quality of life improvements, and things just kind of fell by the wayside. And you know, in the grand scheme of things, I don't think, competition over an Orichalcum node is necessary. You know what I mean? And in fact, in Guild Wars 2, it's definitely not necessary because you can find it all over the place and any number of max level maps. It's all over the place.
I don't want to get into all that because I could also argue that, you know, you don't have to compete too much for your nodes on Guild Wars, but that's also how you get the best gear in the game. I could be wrong because you're more ahead of me.
You're pretty close. There are other ways, but that's the easiest way, I think.
Well, I'm just saying, like, it's just kind of like, I don't know, man. I guess what we're trying to get at is that balance of feeling the immersion and accomplishment and kind of butting out that instant gratification, but at the same time, where do you meet in the middle? You know, like Pantheon, again, it's talking 2-hour gameplay sesh. You know, how are we going to have that old school experience? You know, like, is it going to feel old school? Like, I didn't think Guild Wars 2 would ever have that until I was working on my beetle mount, you know, and that, because Guild Wars 2, loot bags. I mean, it's just so.
And it's not even meaningful loot. Like, you get it and you're just like, put that in the corner of the bag over there.
Yeah, and then we're working on, you know, higher level stuff, and it's like it just seems to me nowadays modern MMOs in game is just where the game starts. Yeah. Versus old school MMOs, you're working to get to end game. That's kind of like my perception on it. Like,
like as far as like when we're talking Pantheon. Like I think you and I are both in agreement that Pantheon's not going to be what a lot of the old school EverQuest community is hoping and praying that it's going to be, like this new EverQuest. It's going to be something somewhere in the middle, somewhere akin to Vanguard or EQ2, combined with a little bit of the modern amenities, combined with new systems that don't exist in games yet, combined with that old school community. Hold on, let me finish. So I think when we're talking that, like, I think with that 2-hour session window that they're talking about, I'm hoping and praying that that's what they mean. Like, I don't think we need that competitiveness if there's other features to take up the time, I guess is what I'm saying, you know?
I've said it 1,000 times. I'll say it one more time.
Oh, shit.
Pantheon is going to be Pantheon.
Mm-hmm.
And that's how I feel about it, you know? Yeah. I put my trust in the devs. I put my trust in what that game's going to be. I'm looking forward to it. I think they're going to find ways to encapsulate the old school spirit and find a way to do it in 2-hour game sessions.
Well, it's like this, and I know that there were some complaints. I don't know if Minus, if you're still here, maybe you can kind of back me up on this, but I believe Minus was the one who said something about in Guild Wars 2, it's just about becoming a power player. So, loading up as a power crit build and going out with a mass amount of people that are all power crit builds and just zerging everything. I have gained a new respect for this style of gameplay because it's not just about starting at endgame. There is more endgame in Guild Wars 2 than there's anything else. But it's not really endgame. It's still the journey, right? It's not the destination. It is still the journey. And I think one of the cool things about that is because it is still the journey, you might have this Zerg mentality, but they're able to put that community back in. Like when we go do Silverways, or we go do hero point trains, or we go do bounty trains. You know what I mean?
I swear, guys, we're not sponsored by Guild Wars 2, but I will say that the community of Guild Wars 2 is all about the journey. They're all about the adventure. They're not about any kind of elitist mentality that I've seen. I mean, that I've made a lot of friends on there. I have so many friends on Guild Wars 2 that I've friended and had conversations with. I don't remember who they are, I mean, everybody's super helpful. It just seems like everybody from Guild Wars 2 have come from old school MMOs. That's just how I feel. I actually have friends on my friends list that were named after EverQuest stuff,
Right.
And I guess the point I want to make is that you were just talking about you've become accustomed to that style. So, I can say the same, and I can say the same for a game like Destiny 2, where you have loot thrown at you just non-stop. Like, it becomes this, you get stuff, but you got to filter through, and then you're eventually going to get something cool, And I just feel like that's part of the mechanic. You just get gobs of loot, and you pick out the epic loot.
Well, bringing it back to the topic, though, what I'm talking about, when I say accustomed to it, I'm talking about, what spawned this thought is that, how is Pantheon going to do this? Pantheon's a big talking point. A lot of the people that watch this want to know about Pantheon, Saga of Leucemia, stuff like that. Like, how are these games that are coming out that are trying to capture the old going to also deliver on the new? And I think there's good examples to be had from Guild Wars because there is all of this stuff that just like, it's all easy mode. But if you really think about it, every meta event that you do, every guild event that you do, every organized world versus world that you do, all of these things bring the community together. And you can piss on all that other stuff you want, but you have to acknowledge the fact that they've done things that make the community do stuff. I mean, dude, going back and playing in a level 30 zone last night to go get a spider egg sack. We go out there and it's not just us two, my wife and I, in an empty zone. We go out there and there's players that just run the gamut of level ranges, just out there working together and doing things, doing world boss farms, going between the different things and working together. Like, I really hope that Pantheon and Saga and all these other games that are going to Defend the Night, any other games that are coming out, look at these newer games and cherry pick the good things from them that can help promote the community while also delivering us that difficulty that we're looking for in the modern.
Well, Joppa mentioned Divinity's Reach in a stream before.
Yes.
I think it was Minus's stream.
Okay.
So, I know he's played that game for testing purposes, or if not his own personal purposes, but that's kind of cool. And sorry, man, I sorry I got off topic.
No, but that was a valid point.
Well, yeah, but oh man, I lost what I was going to say. I was going to trail off of what you were just saying.
I talk a lot, guys. Sorry.
It's all good. We might as well move on. It's not going to come back. If it does, I'll interrupt
if it comes back, because we've got some voicemails on the topic tonight, we're going to get to those here in just a second. Let me know. But you want to go ahead and roll into those voicemails?
Yes, I do.
All right.
Oh man, this is such a juicy rant topic.
I'm sorry,
Hello?
but the person you called
Hello?
has a voicemail box that has not been set up yet. Goodbye.
Oh, what the hell, guys? Voicemail, texts, and assholes.
All right, this is our segment, VTNA. Probably going to change it from assholes to a-holes because we're trying to kind of PCify this just a little bit. See, I'm kind of struggling with this stuff. It's like this internal turmoil. Like, do we censor ourselves because it's what YouTube wants? I don't think that's what we got to do, especially considering some things we're going to talk about next week or next stream. But yeah, like, I don't know, F-bombs, you know, shit, fuck, piss, ass, like, I don't know, it's just words. But anyway, moving on. We do have some voicemails here. We have one particular voicemail that I opted to censor last week, but I basically didn't. I decided not to play it based on a few choice words that were utilized and the transcript of it. But after listening to it, I want to make sure credit goes out to the individual in that, and we'll play that here at the end. But I want to go over the text that we received today. We did get a few texts here. Got one from Drac Attack, got one from Z, and let's see here. It looks like old Reeve gave us a little text here too. So I'll go ahead and start with Reeves because I mentioned it earlier. He says, I think resources should have forced flag AoE around it. You need to fight to the death for that copper ore. Especially if you're opposing factions. There's too many times where the fight is really just between the NPCs and not enough PvE rewards for killing the other team. And I think, you know what, something he said when we were just kind of BSing with him earlier was the fact that, like, you play in a PvP environment, but the game will do everything in its power to prevent PvP from being a thing. Mm-hmm. And you know, he's got a point there. You know, I think, and I think you see that in PvP, you know, realms and things like that, you know, fighting over, especially like in WoW Classic. Well, WoW Classic's really skewed. Like, there's no real genuine PvP servers. There's no 50-50. It's all faction unbalanced and stuff. But anyway, I think that is kind of a neat concept. I mean, maybe not every node, but like certain... Like, if you're going out for a rare thing, like a PvP element, would be kind of cool, providing you're, you know, that's what you signed up for. I can agree with that.
If I fought to the death for a copper node, I don't know how I would feel about that.
Yeah, no. I mean, that's...
But we know Reeve, and we know, like, he's trolling a little bit, but it's kind of comical. Like, how funny would that be? Like, you want this copper... And, you know, you got to fight to the death, and all you got was a couple of copper, and that's kind of hilarious.
I get where he's coming from, though, totally, because I know he's a big PvPer, and I'm not anti-PvP, but I don't really enjoy PvP, or at least I didn't in the past. And those conversations that we've had with Reeve, and, you know, like, it makes sense, right? Like, if you are an opposing faction, and you're trying to gather resources, and maybe this comes from his experience with RTSs. If you're trying to gather resources for yourself, which you are part of a faction, you're gathering resources to become stronger to versus that other faction. Well, if you're fighting for a resource and you see the opposing faction come up, well, if they get that resource, they're now one up on that resource compared to you. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So there should be some sort of element to it, especially in a PvP environment. That's all I'm saying. But keep it short and sweet. Let's move on to the next one. Do you want to read Z's or do you want to read Drax?
Let me read.
They're both a little bit extensive.
Oh. Did I just mess up the screen there?
No, I think we're good.
I am going to read. Let me do Drax.
Okay.
He says, I'm against WoW-style personalized loot for drops. I feel like it removes part of dealing with the community. I'd like to have the tools to do the need greed and also have a group leader distribute the loot if that's what the group wants. I'm moving. Here we go. I also like the idea of a rare loot drop lockout. So if your group gets the magic sword of awesomeness to drop everyone in that group gets a 12-hour lockout for the item. I think that's what he's saying.
Yeah, that's what it sounds like he's saying. So basically, nobody else can get it.
Gotcha. That will keep people from sitting on camps for days. As far as gathering nodes go, I think I'd rather have competition there as well. If it adds spice and conflicts, which is good. Lastly, Pantheon, please add gathering nodes in dungeons, boss rooms, and around the raid bosses. Maybe even some rare stuff. Tracks.
Well, I mean, there's a couple points there that I can agree with, and a couple points that make me raise an eyebrow. I mean, how do you feel about having a lockout? What do you guys think about having a lockout? Like, if you were to help, to prevent you from over camping something, which we've seen some, like, certain guilds in WoW Classic were doing this, where they were camping things and not letting anybody else get tags. What are your thoughts on it, Dev?
I kind of like that idea because I mean, I guess it gets down to the point to where if you have someone that's on the game 24/7 versus us old people who don't, and we finally get to kill that boss, we deserve to get a better shot at it. You know what I mean?
I mean, I'll agree with that sentimentally, but at the same time, I don't agree with that because who are we to tell people how they're supposed to spend their time? If they want to spend 20 hours playing a game every day and only get 4 hours of sleep and they sit there and they camp that mob for 20 hours, like, who are we to say, oh, you should be locked out because you've already had plenty of time to get your drop? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I mean, maybe that's coming from me as a person who will, when it comes down to it, spend 20 hours camping something if I need it. I don't think they should have the right to be like, hey, you're going to be locked out. They already do that with raids, where you get locked out of raid content in a lot of games, where once you do a raid, you can't do that raid again for a week because there's no drops.
Yeah, but if they got that much time, a 12-hour lockout, they could go get 12 hours of sleep and come back to it.
But who are they to tell them to go to sleep?
They need to sleep, man.
It reminds me of that meme video. He needs some milk. I don't know, dude. I mean, I agree that it sucks that somebody is hoarding it, but if they're willing to spend their time camping it, see, here's where I have the issue. If it's an item that you need for a quest and you get it and you leave, that's one thing. If you're sitting there and you're camping it and you're getting the spawns and reselling it over and over and over again and never giving a chance for somebody who actually wants the item to get it, that's kind of douchey, and that's where community policing comes into play. But at the same time, like, here, I'll give you this. I'll make a concession. If the game is willing to provide me enough content and things to do, and I help you try to get Magical Sword of Awesomeness, and I want Magical Sword of Awesomeness too, but you get it, and we got to wait 12 hours to go back and do it again, but there's something for me to do within that 12 hours that makes me not care one way or another, and maybe if the loot chance is a little bit higher so there's no need to continuously farm it, I think that would be fine. But, I mean, because if you think about it, like, even though you're not sitting there camping it for 20 hours, they're basically putting that time sink in by saying you can only get it every 12 hours. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So you get that same effect. You're just not at the PC in that location. You're still getting that time sink. So I think if they're going to lock you out like that, it shouldn't be more difficult to get the loot when you do get the tags and things like that. But I could see, Punk, you've been here for 5 hours, man. You got the tag. Go do something else for 12 hours and come back. Like, I can go, you got a point. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and see, I'm coming from that point to where, like, I get on, I want this mob, I get the group, I'm farming this mob for whatever item, and this guy's been the party leader since last night when I logged off. It's like, damn, man, give me a chance.
Sarahlin's comment kind of hits a nail on the head. I'm on the fence. I don't think MMO should favor hardcore on one hand or casual on the other. And it all comes back to that balancing factor. And I'm not discrediting anything else you guys have been talking about, because you guys have different points that you guys are bringing back and forth. But I think what Sarah Lynn says kind of makes sense. Like, as the adult here, there is that balance. Yes, I can sit here as a self-employed individual during a pandemic and a social uprising time where my business isn't exactly flipping like it normally is. I can sit here and grind and get things done. But also as an adult, when I have things that I need to do, I need to make sure that I'm giving myself time to do other things, and not necessarily policing myself and saying, oh, you need to mow the yard and wash the dishes and fix the cabinets. I mean, like, if I'm playing a game and I'm playing it for 20 hours, I don't want to burn out just farming that one mob. I need something that's like, hey, go try something else. This is a huge game. Go enjoy it.
And before I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
Oh, before we move on, I just want to say, I think just let the devs make the game they want to make. And if you don't like the way it's made, you don't have to play it.
That's true.
If I'm just saying, like, if a game, like, if Pantheon came out and they didn't have a 12-hour lockout, I'm still going to play it if I like everything else about it. You know what I mean? If they do have the lockout, I'm still going to play it if I like everything about it, It's just going to be part of that game mechanic that they designed. And if you want that item, you got to play the game how the game's made.
You're going to enjoy everything else, and then you're just going to bitch about this one thing, but you're going to do it anyway because it's part of what you're trying to accomplish.
Yeah, no matter what game comes out, I'm going to bitch about it a little bit.
All right, so I'm going to read what Z sent us. So he's got a couple different takes on it. He says, both sides of the loot spectrum you've described have pros and cons. He's talking about personal loot here. You don't have to fight over it, obviously. It makes the flow easier. Mining, for instance, where you might follow a route and don't have to worry about a node not being there. Easier farming for gold and mats and stuff like that. I think that's important, for something that synergizes or focuses around gathering those materials, where any type of competitive nature could actually hinder the economy, could hinder the growth of the player base, so on and so forth. These are my words. So he says the cons. I could see it leading potentially to economy issues where everything is devalued and then there becomes a new need for gold sinks. Takes away from the competition aspect, and everyone gets a trophy metaphor, if you will. And we saw this with Cataclysm. In Cataclysm, they added, we already had gold sinks like the brand new bag and stuff like that. But once the nodes came into place and scarcity wasn't a thing, and scarcity is a problem because if you look at WoW Classic, Black Lotuses are in short supply and nobody is able to make flasks like they're supposed to. Blizzard has actually acknowledged this, and I think there was a hotfix that went in a couple weeks ago that made the spawn rates higher. But anyway, that aside, we saw this in Cataclysm. We saw the markets go, they tanked. There was no money. And when I say no money, there was no money in mats. It was all about less for more. But there was this turnover because it was something that you could just do all the time. And I told you, I used to farm. I took a character from level 70 to it was 75 in Cataclysm, wasn't it? Or was it 80?
I think it was 80.
Well, whatever the max level was in Cataclysm, when we went from Wrath to Cataclysm, I took a Paladin because they got the mount speed increase and epic flying mount, and I would farm for 2 hours every day before work. So I would farm for 2 hours, and then I would send all my materials over to my crafters, and I would have gems that I would put up, other crafted materials that I'd put up. I would transmog things, or whatever, not transmog, transmute things, and I would get all that going, right? So I'd have, every day when I come home from work, I'd have a bunch of money sitting in my bags. But because of those nodes just being there, always being there, those were my nodes. I would see somebody land on their mount, and I could also land, and we could both be mining that node. So it was always guaranteed. But they ended up having to add those mammoth mounts. I think the most recent mount, that little brontosaurus thing that they added, it's like 1 million gold, dude.
Oh.
Yeah.
Ooh. Yeah.
Right? And that's what Z's saying here. He's saying, you're going to have to add gold sinks, and that's what they've done. So let me finish here, guys. I kind of got off on a tangent there. He says, as far as loot goes, one could say it's easier and faster to get geared with personal loot. But then this could result in getting geared very quickly and then getting bored, because the only thing you would have to work for would be mechanics. But then on the flip side, competitive loot distribution can result in butthurtness. Butthurtedness is the nice Z. I recall a time when a certain axe dropped and WoW's ICC first boss, and someone attempted to take it from me despite my winning role. To be honest, I'm torn. I like both systems to an extent, and I feel like there needs to be some middle ground. Man, we always come back to this middle ground, bro. But not sure how that would work. What's that?
I didn't even read this message. That's why I was going to have you read it.
Oh, okay, gotcha. So,
That's funny.
And somebody said something when we first got started here. I think it was Get Crow. Now Get Crow's gone, but they were doing something in WoW Classic, and someone ninja looted the item that they were there for. And we're seeing this a lot. Like if your class can roll or need roll on it, and WoW Classic, if you need roll on something, it doesn't become bound, and then you can sell it. Or you get these people that don't know what the hell they're doing, and a pre-raid best in slot drops, and you're like, yeah, and then somebody rolls on it, and you're like, you don't use strength.
I hate you.
So yeah, like I can understand where like having to divvy up loot works. But it's like WoW now, like personal loot's weird. Like you go into a raid and you still have that. Like we saw that a lot with Kaizen. Now, and I'm not talking about the drama part that Z is talking about, but like the way we geared the raid is everyone had personal loot, and if you had something you didn't want, you didn't just DE it. You put it up and you said, does anybody need this? And then we still had our loot systems, and we distributed the loot.
The only benefit to personal loot, in my opinion, is I've had my share of getting awesome loot in MMOs to the point to where when I play an MMO, and I'm especially if I'm playing with a friend that's new to the game, all I want is for them to get the loot. I want them to have that experience, and we talked about this a lot. And it's gotten to the point to where sometimes I'm my own worst enemy, where like I just want to play the game to make sure my friends get what they want.
Right.
And then sometimes, later on down the road, I'm like, man, eventually I'm going to have to get some loot for my damn self. So that is the only benefit to personal loot that I have liked. Other than that, I don't really care for it, because if I'm involved in an MMO, it's kind of like what we were talking about last stream or the stream before, where like when all these cool new old school MMOs come out, like which one are we going to commit to? Which one are we going to play?
It's gonna be
which one are we going to invest in? Like can I be that way in those games? So am I going to be able to pass off this sweet loot to Joe Blow over here?
Unfortunately, when we have limited time, man, we are going to have to be a little bit, self-centered, if you will. We won't be able to be like that all the time. I mean, we can still do it. And this is how I played like this lately. For the most part, I'll go and I get geared, and I'll do, whatever I can for myself. But I also tried to get involved with my people, like you and my wife and Z and Reeve and whoever wants to play Guild Wars with us. And it was like this. It's been like this ever since we started playing ESO. Like, I'll play to play. I'll take care of me. But I'm not going to hesitate to stop what I'm doing to help you guys do you,
Right.
So, yeah, I mean, there's that balance. I think that's what it comes down to, is that balance. But
Dude,
what's up?
Cerulean just made a good point. I almost feel like personal loot should be a lower level, lower tier stuff, but raid bosses or maybe final dungeon bosses should be a competitive loot. That's an awesome way to kind of, I guess,
make legendary loot feel legendary, because there's less saturation, right?
Yeah, and to kind of meet that balance we've been talking about. Like everybody kind of gets a head start.
Well, guys, we're starting to lose some people here. People getting tired. Those of you watching on VOD, we're going to start wrapping up here in just a moment. We've got that voicemail. You ready for it, dude?
Let's do it.
All right, so this voicemail is unedited. It's not a big deal. There's just some choice words, so hopefully nobody gets offended. But we don't edit these. I don't want to censor them. It was just with consideration to the way this was transcribed. But there's some stuff that needs to be mentioned here, and it's not bad or discussion pieces. It's just something that's really cool that Def and I didn't know about until somebody left a voicemail about it, and I want to give credit where credit's due. So let's listen to this voicemail.
Oh, damn. Fuck up. Yeah, this message is for Battle Axe Theater. I really enjoy your show.
Hold on once. Oh, you guys can hear it.
I'm kind of upset that I promote your videos on my website, The Crossroads of Terminus, and you guys haven't become members. I think you guys are hilarious, and I got some ideas to help increase your viewage, because I think you are the best content creators overall for Pantheon, because you try to do things that are different. You just don't read from a phone book type podcast, and you know who I'm talking about when I say that. So it would be nice for you to come to the site at dtspantheon.com and check out your videos. Tell me what you like, what you don't like, what I can improve on, what I can't improve on, or just tell me to fuck off. Okay?
I love that you put that in there.
This is Captain Bartholomew Boneslayer leaving a message. You have a good day, Dad. And Puncture too.
I'm an afterthought, but alright, so to break this down. Bart, dude, we appreciate, so this is Captain Bartholomew Boneslayer. We appreciate what you're doing, and everybody has their own opinions about content creators. As you guys know, we're not dedicated specifically to Pantheon. We actually haven't done Pantheon content, not much of it anyway, and a good bit, because we're kind of waiting for real things to come out to talk about. And if you guys want to talk about the newsletters and things like that, you've got Minus, you've got Nathan, you've got Basgrim, and you've got all the actual dev streams, or live streams that they do from the development group. And all of that, I don't think we need any extra information. Sure, we might have an opinion piece that comes out once in a while, but you can bet your ass that we will be covering that once we actually start to see stuff that's allowed to be talked about NDA wise and stuff like that. Once more information becomes available and discussion pieces become had. I mean, you're already starting to see a different direction in Battle Axe Theater, and we want to incorporate it, but there's not going to be a focus on that, and there's just so much to talk about, especially next week. But check it out. It's dtspantheon.com. It is the Crossroads of Terminus. It is a very almost old school feeling site. Would you agree, Def? Kind of feels like, mid 2000s, and it's a forum. Go ahead.
I was going to say a lot of work has been poured into this website too, whether it's old school looking or not. It's been I mean, it's got every content creator's videos on there. It's really good. I don't know.
This has been disconnected. Are we doing this again?
Uh-oh.
Okay.
Are we back?
Yeah, we're back.
Anyway, I was going to say, you can tell the dedication that he had putting this website together. And sorry we haven't became members of the website. I will go make an account probably tomorrow, because I'm going to go to bed right after the stream. But yeah, man. Appreciate it.
Yeah, we appreciate it, and that's why I wanted to make sure this got some airtime. I appreciate that, crude as it may be, in terms of telling us that we're great about Pantheon and people are their own things. I think we have to say thanks for what you're doing and supporting us and the other content creators by putting the content out there on the Pantheon Crossroads. So thank you for that, and we appreciate that. And to you guys watching and reading chat, sorry about that little that just happened. I have no idea what that is. I don't control the internet. It just stopped. But anyway, I think it might be time to start wrapping up. What do you think, bro?
Yeah, I need to go to sleep.
Oh man, you wore a blue shirt. You're blue this week, bro.
Oh, you did this last week.
I did it last week.
Can you see my nips?
I don't think it works like that, dude.
Oh man. Well.
All right, guys. Well, thanks so much for coming to hang out with us on this fine Monday. You guys have been a great group of people. For those of you watching after the fact, thanks for coming and supporting us. Have some conversations in the comments. Let us know, what your thoughts are on these topics. Talk amongst your peers and just get your voice out there, man. That's one thing that we're really, really, really would like to see is the commentary on the VODs, because we know we get about twice as many views via VODs than we do live. So you guys are watching this content, and we'd love to hear what you're saying, because I want to be really real with you guys. We're going to run out of stuff to talk about. So if you guys could, present your ideas and kind of get our gears a turning, it'd be super cool. Want to mention some stuff about the next stream coming up here soon. But before we do that, if you guys are not already involved with social media and following us, we are out there on the old Twitter machine. Battle Axe Theater at Battle Axe Theater. We're on Facebook at Battle Axe Theater. No dots, lines, dashes, all that good stuff. And we are now also on Instagram. I don't know what we're going to do with Instagram, but we're there now, right, Def?
Oh, I can do selfies.
You could take pictures of your nips, I guess.
Yeah.
So those are out there. Be sure to get in touch with us and follow us and see what we have to come in store, because I think you're going to be seeing some more activity in that department here coming soon. And most of all, if you want to get involved in the conversation, be sure to join the Discord. We're going to have some changes coming up here in the next couple months. There's going to be a lot of big changes coming up over the next few months, because for those of you who are unaware, in the world of YouTube, June and July are kind of a lull. I don't know how much it's going to be impacted this year because of people still trying to stay home because of that one thing, the human malware. But typically people are out camping, they're traveling, they're doing things, and they're not watching a lot of YouTube. So we're going to utilize this time to kind of wrap things up. But bro, where can people reach us if they want to leave some of these fantastic voicemails, maybe rant a little bit?
725-333-2285. Leave us a text or leave a voicemail, and it can be about Karen or Carol or Larry or your day at work, or if you don't like the PlayStation 5 look, or if you'd rather play Xbox, or it can be about anything, anywhere. In fact, we kind of encourage it. I mean, it means a lot that we get text about the subject at hand that we discuss, but
right.
It can literally be about everything. Like, I would love to know what Turin's day or Cerulean's day is about, their boss or their co-worker, or I mean, I'm not saying you got to bash people. Maybe I'm putting out the wrong message, but you get
probably point. You just get whatever's here, and it's just get it.
If you need to get off your chest, what's on your chest, off your chest, give it to us, and we can talk about it a little bit. Who knows? We might can relate to it. So.
Absolutely. Yeah. So again, that is 725-333. Wait.
2285.
2285. There we go. Yep. So you guys can reach us there, and of course, leave us a voicemail, leave us your rants, shoot us a text, hit us up in Discord, join the conversation, talk in general, see our meme dump, the random stuff. It's great. But I want to talk a little bit about what's to come with the next episode. Now, if you guys aren't aware, we did 15 episodes in our last season, and Def and I kind of had the idea to be consistent with that this season, but we didn't really know for sure. But we know for sure that the next episode is going to be the last episode of this season, because we've got some work to do, right, bro?
Yeah, we got a lot of things down the pipeline.
We've got some stuff that we've got to do off of the old live stream, and we've got to focus up on it. We've got to buckle down on it, because big things are coming to Battle Axe Theater, and big things are coming for Punk and Def, and there's all kinds of stuff going on, man. So we are going to actually postpone our stream for next week. So there will be no stream on the 21st or 22nd, but there will be a finale, if you will, on the 29th. And what can you expect? Well, I would like to do an AMA style stream. And bro, we're going to let them AMA stuff, and we're going to answer those questions, even if it makes us uncomfortable. And those ones that make us uncomfortable, we'll just be vague. But we want to do AMA. It can be anything. It can be personal questions. It could be motivational questions. It could be questions about streaming. It could be questions about content creation, questions about gaming, anything you want. Put together some questions for us. Leave them in the comments, shoot us a message via Discord, drop those questions in the Discord channels. I don't care how you do it. Just get your questions over to us, and so that way we can be prepared a little bit for that stream. And we're also going to talk a little bit about what is coming up with Battle Axe. So those things that I kind of alluded to just a moment ago, we're actually going to go into a little bit more detail structurally, but we're not going to say everything that we're doing. But we're going to talk those next week. You got something you want to add?
Yeah. So basically, the finale we're gonna get. Sorry, I want to do this down and dirty with chat. Man, I don't have that radio voice.
As Boom would say, you're gonna get soft with the community.
Yeah.
I miss Sif. Have they done anything recently?
Man, I think they're on a bit of a break. I reached out to Militus not too long ago, but yeah, gonna get down with the chat. No, that's not good. Sorry.
Just get rid of the and just relax. Like,
Get down with the chat.
That was actually really good, Def. You did a good job. Good job, man.
Thank you.
Yeah.
My nips showing? I'm sorry.
Here we go with the nips again. But anyway, guys, we're taking a little bit long with the wrap-up section here, but we're gonna be doing some tweets. We're gonna be doing some Facebook messages. We're gonna maybe do an Instagram thing. We'll have some little video clips going out. So, hold on, I gotta pull dates up again. Let's try this again. Join us on June 29th at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We're going to be celebrating our 1,000 subs, our partnership with YouTube. All of you guys here, we're going to answer your questions. We're going to do an AMA style stream. And on top of that, we're going to talk a little bit about what's coming with Battle Axe Theater in the near future. With our platform changes, we're going to talk about some cool show ideas that we've got coming up to some extent. And just a few other things that we got, and kind of set the stage for what is to come in the fall. So please join us on the 29th, and really excited to do that. I'm really excited to hear your questions. I want to answer things.
Me too.
Well, anything you want to add, bro, before we wrap this up?
No. Just, thank you guys. We had a good crowd tonight. Chat was popping tonight, man. I could not keep up, and I'm sorry if we're sorry if we missed anything, because chat was on fire tonight, having good conversations.
Yeah.
And it's just kind of cool. It's kind of what we're about to see, that conversation happening. But thank you guys again, man. It just means a lot. So
yeah. All right, guys. Well, we'll see you guys on the next one. Again, no stream next week, but on the 29th, we will see you guys at 9 p.m. Don't worry, you're going to get an influx of tweets and Facebook notifications and YouTube, because we can do little stories now. So we're going to keep you guys updated. Yeah. And we will see you guys on the next one. Peace.
Later.